right, welcome in day 2, Cake Show edition of Bumper to Bumper. Gaardsy in for Dan today. Dan will be back tomorrow. A bunch of guests today, just like yesterday. Brett Blakemore is here as well. It's Wednesday, so Pat Kessler will be rolling in right around 5 o'clock. We also have my buddy Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com coming a little bit later, about 3:45. And Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press will join to talk what else, Brett Blakemore? Minnesota Timberwolves basketball.
Of course.
They're back in action tonight against the Memphis Grizzlies. But we are obligated to start with the Minnesota Wild. We are obligated to start with hockey. I'm going to ask you this question. It's the Central Division, right? And then
Yes.
Is it the Pacific Division?
Yes.
The one out west?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the best team in the Pacific Division, or who would you anticipate? You don't have to Google it. I'm going to tell you who it's going to be. It's going to be Vegas.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go with Vegas.
That was my initial gut reaction.
Let's just stay with Vegas.
Check.
So I was at the Wild game last night. Oh, good for me.
Wow.
I got tickets before we became Quinnesota. Like, this has been on the calendar for a while. So good luck for myself. Good luck for Gray Man, my 9-year-old, my mite, who I took yesterday. Here's all I'm going to say after the game last night. It's the Wild and Golden Knights in the Western Conference Finals, and you are on your own after that.
I was telling Tenna in the transition of power, I'm not sure the Skateriots are a good enough name. We might have to think of something better than the Skateriots.
I know.
It's that good.
It's disgusting how good it is.
Yes.
It's sick how good it is. And I texted Abbott at 7:30 this morning, and I said, who's with me today? Because as you know, especially this time of year, we have no idea who's working with us at any given point.
That's right.
When you turn on the fan in December, especially mid to late December, it's a crapshoot. Wait till next week, right? We have
Wait till tomorrow.
We have no idea who's going to be on at any given point. And he said Brett, and I said perfect, because we need to talk Wild. And you were you were having a tough time processing everything on Friday and Saturday, it seemed like. So I'm glad you're here, because we are going to intermittently talk Wild. But, yeah, we can call them the Skateriots. We can say it's the Golden Knights and Wild in the Western Conference Finals. You're on your own after that. They're a wagon. They're a wagon. That's all I can say. And what do you want? Do you want the numbers to prove the point? We can give you the numbers. Great homestand, 4-0, 19 goals for, 6 against. Another shutout last night. No one's even talking about Gus Bus, who was brilliant in the first period when Washington was having their way a little bit early. I think early shots were 11-5. Wild might have been up 1-0 even, though, because Tarasenko all of a sudden is 25 years old again out of nowhere. The Quinnesota effect. The home point streak, 13 games, ties a franchise record. The record, 11-0-2. How about their last 22? Go back to the 1st of November. 17-3-2. If you're a numbers person, every number right now feels good. Every analytic looks good. You can make a case for about 5 players, and they only have about 5 players right now that are playing. I couldn't name half the guys on the ice last night. My son's asking me who they are. I said, I don't know. Just watch 43. Watch 43, watch 97. Oh, by the way, Ovechkin's over there. He did not believe me that Alex Ovechkin has scored more goals in the National Hockey League than anybody else. Midway through the second period, he said, "Are you sure this is the guy that's done it?" And I said, "I know I'm not a hockey guy, but I'm pretty sure there's like 2,000 Ovi jerseys in the crowd. I'm pretty sure I watched Wayne Gretzky follow him around last year for 2 months as he was stalking that record. But son, he's 50 years old, and time stops for no one. Father Time is undefeated. But it's not even about the numbers. The numbers, as I mentioned, are exquisite. It's the feel of it. It's the feel of it. And if you were there Sunday against Ottawa, if you were there last night, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It reminded me of the first few games of 2012 when Parise and Suter got here, especially Parise, because I remember just watching him and just saying, this feels different. The Wild, it appears, has a top line now. They have a line that other teams have to worry about that might strike fear. And again, we know we don't need to litigate it. It didn't end up like we all thought it would back in 2012. We all understand that. But I would just watch him because there was a different vibe and energy when he was on the ice that we didn't have before. Quinn Hughes is that and maybe more. I mean, he's pure electricity. I'll be honest. I was not watching the all 12 of Vancouver Canucks hockey. When I'm playing, the NHL 2K, I'm not Vancouver. So I was like everybody else when this deal happened on Friday night. I know the name. I know he's good, but I'm looking for the NFL or basketball comp. Speak my language. Translate this to me. Everybody's excited. Why? the crowd is waiting and watching on his every move. Every move they're watching this guy. And as I'm watching him, and that's what was funny to me is I used to just watch Kaprizov the whole time because I just love watching him do everything, right? Because he's always a step away from doing something that's going to electrify the crowd. And no surprise, he scored last night. He's now tied with Parise for power play goals. He's second all time in scoring, which is pretty funny that Mikko Koivu's our third guy all time.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you, there's a reason why we're running out of guys to honor in our 25th anniversary season, or 35th, whatever it is, 25th.
Well, if you look at the games played, too, it's
I did.
Maybe a fifth of the games that everyone else has played.
Yeah, and Koivu played over 1,000.
Yeah.
And the bit on Koivu was he never shot and he never scored, and that's why he shouldn't have the C, if you want to talk about relitigating things from over there. I didn't ever say it, but that was the hockey community. But it's like with Hughesy, it's like having, to speak my language, an electric penetrating point guard where he gets the ball, he brings it up, he makes a couple of moves, his passes are perfect, they're beautiful, everything is quick, everything is on target, everything moves fluidly. I almost had to hold the armrest to watch our power play last night. The first power play they had, I don't know if they scored on this one, they had it for 90 seconds. It was 90, power plays are still 2 minutes, right?
They are.
They had it for 90 seconds. Just running around, spinning around. I was texting with somebody last night. It's like the Russians in the 80s. It's like the Miracle on Ice team that lost. It's unbelievable. Who was the fifth guy? It's Hughes, Kaprizov, Boldy, Eriksson Ek, and there was somebody else on the top power play. I don't know. But just look at that list.
Tarasenko.
Was Tarasenko on it?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I will not be slowing down this hype train. Having been in the building last night, and it wasn't, I can't go as far as to say it felt like a playoff game atmosphere, but it was pretty damn close. And for a Tuesday night in December, with everything going on, that's pretty cool. And it's the Parisian Suter thing, that was a franchise-changing moment. It changed the entire energy, and it obviously has to continue to go somewhere. But this is another one of those moments. And I know I'm probably late to the party, and hockey fans are going, okay, well, yeah, we're happy for you. Thanks for noticing. Hughes is a good player. But I'm telling you, just the energy in there last night, the state of hockey's completely bought in. And there's nothing like hope. Hope is like a drug in sports. When you have hope, it's like a high that you can't get. And you're just thinking about where this could potentially go and how they're playing. And again, they've got 50 guys out. Yeah. Right? Foligno came back last night. They lose Hunt. And now I'm going to have to make sure I know all these guys' names. I'm
struggling to keep up with all the people coming up and down.
There's some
so
guys,
many of them.
Yeah, it was, and you can tell there's clearly a level drop off when they're kind of trading guys out. But it was electrifying last night. And the funniest part is, Hughesy's doing the whole thing. Well, yeah, I just got here 10 minutes ago. Wait till we play for 6 weeks. Wait till I actually know what the hell's going on. We're about to hit a 2-week road trip. I'm going to get to have some dinners with these guys and actually understand how they want to play. We're just noon to 3 right now. We're just winging it. And this is what's happening. So I will not be, there will be no pumping of the brakes as long as this whole thing goes, because I couldn't have been more impressed by just how the entire operation ran last night. And he's him. He's one of those dudes. It's amazing.
I will speak for the state of hockey where there is no bitterness for me, because if the Wild get coverage on the Cake Show edition of Bumper to Bumper, I say we're happy and let's just take it. So good on you for that. I think it's twofold. The energy comes from he's a superstar, and when a superstar comes to town, that's buzz. But then I think it's also double that Bill Guerin took a shot.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And so now we're going for it. We think this team is good enough, and the talk is that they want to add one more. Who will that be, or will that happen? We don't know. But the fact that we're in big game hunting mode and brought in a legit superstar, how many teams in the league, there's 2 other ones that happen to be in the Central Division, that can just throw down a royal flush of a power play? There is no stopping this, because we are so good. We have so much skill, and we have that here. For years growing up, it was, who will Wild play tonight? I want to see someone exciting. Is Crosby in town? Is McDavid in town? And we have that team where we don't care who we're playing, because we are the exciting team.
So many power plays over the years where I've watched them struggle to just get it into the zone. Yeah. They bring it up, it gets chipped away at the blue line. They were doing the bit where, they all skate up and then they fire it back to one guy and then he runs in, skates in as fast as he can. Last night, Hughes just took it and brought it in. It's like...
That was happening this year.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Like in October.
Absolutely. I go, well, that was easy. And if you watch, I didn't get to watch the full highlight because I wasn't DVRing the game. That's going to change. Because on the Kaprizov power play goal, they don't show the whole sequence where that was all Hughes. All of it. All of it was him.
Yeah.
Him at the blue line, how he kept the puck in, I think, first of all. Skated around a little bit. And then fired it. He almost broke Eriksson Ek's rib, which that would have been an L. But Kaprizov's just there, and he fires it in. It's a goal, and it's just no big deal. He also had a play where, and this is how obsessed I am with it right now, a play where he's just just breaking it out of the wild zone. He's just skating and just puts the brakes on, just stops quick. Guy goes flying by, ankles, and he just makes a nice little hit-ahead pass, and the Wild are off and running. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I can't get enough of it. I can't wait for tomorrow night against Columbus. And then they've got Edmonton this weekend. How good is it? We're going to be doing schedule checks.
This is unbelievable. It's special times. This is the time we've been praying for the Wild.
And that 12 minutes is done. We will talk basketball with Jace Frederick when we come back. We'll see if he has Quinn Hughes fever. I'm sure he does. And what's the Wolves' response to Bill Guerin's big move? Will Tim Conley make a big move? We'll talk about all of that. Burnsy's going to join about 30 minutes from now, and then Pat Kessler will join. What do you need in here? You're looking around? You're making me nervous. What's going on? I'm just going to hit the break. Is that okay?
I was wondering if you were going to hit it or not.
Well, I mean, I can do two things. I was here yesterday.
Oh, that's true.
No thanks.
Celebrate the Twin Cities music scene at First Avenue's Best New Bands Saturday, January 17th. 7 rising stars take the stage. Don't miss out on the future of Minnesota music. Full details, KFAN.com. Keyword count.
KFAN, Bradshaw and Bryant text line is 64686. Questions for our next guest, Jace Frederick. You can hit them there. You can also tweet me at Gaardsy. He's on the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Been a minute since I've talked to him. Jace, thank you as always for joining. My first question, this isn't from the text line. What is Tim Conley's move to combat and contradict the move that the Minnesota Wild have made to capture the hearts and minds of all Minnesota sports fans?
I don't know, because we're the Wild responding to what Tim's done the last few years. Like, is it now his move, or are they just back to level, or how do you feel about that?
I say it's the ball is back in his court. He took the first shot. He served first. He brought in Rudy. He brought in Randall. He's taken the first big swings. The Wild have now finally responded, and now I think it's back in their court. What do you think?
I think if I'm Tim, I'm saying, well, let's see if they actually go to like a West Finals. And if not, then I think the ball is still in their court. That's what I would think.
Is this Jace Frederick or Johnny Athletic? It sounds a lot like Johnny.
What's next? You're trashing Matt Boldy now?
Yeah. How do you feel about Matt Boldy? Because that has not aged well for Johnny, even though at the time he was 100% right, and it's still one of my favorite lines. All right. In all seriousness, we haven't talked in a while. We haven't talked all season, as a matter of fact. And I'm curious. There seems to be everybody's kind of down on the squad. They're kind of down on the Wolves. You know me, I'm always a little bit more positive. I look at the fact, they're 17-9. I think they're 7-1 since Thanksgiving. And I know that their schedule hasn't been great, but I also know Ant hasn't played a little bit. I guess your state of the state right now, generally, with how the season has gone before we dive into more specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 17-9 and Ant hasn't played them. I think they're 5-2 in those games. So, like, if you want to go away from that, you're down to like 12-7 or something. And I understand the frustration in that, hey, it's been a soft schedule. And my counter to that would be, okay, the complaint about this team in previous years was that they would lose a lot of games to teams they shouldn't.
Yep.
And now they don't. The consternation comes from, I think, that people wanted this team to take another leap from a year ago. And, hey, when you go to 2 straight West Finals, I get it. Like, you're just viewing, how do you contend for an NBA title at that point? And 2-8 against teams with, winning records this year is not that at the moment. So I understand the consternation. I think that there is a reality with this team, even if you say, like, hey, every year 90% of guys are coming back or whatever. It's probably like the very best version of their roster, the most talented version was 2 years ago. And it is kind of like with the cap situation, you're going to lose like a guy each year. And the guys who are filling in don't appear to be as good as like that guy, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So there's going to be kind of figuring out how do you play without this guy? How do these other guys who step up, how do they elevate their game? Maybe how did the best players have to elevate everybody to even stay at the level you were at before when you lose somebody who was important to you? I think they're still kind of in the process of figuring a lot of those things out, and maybe figuring out their best brand of basketball and how they get the best out of everybody in it. But just in general, I think it's like they're in a fine spot. And I do think that maybe in December is too early to sound any alarms, because there's a lot of different ways the season can go from here. But I understand that people who think, I don't think this looks like a championship team, and that's what I wanted. I can understand where they're coming from as well, because it doesn't look like that right now. And they will have to change, if not the roster, maybe just like more consistent brand of basketball that maximizes everybody. And I don't know if they necessarily found that yet either. So a couple of different paths they can go to get to where they want to, but I understand that this isn't maybe what people wanted for at the jump of the season.
I also look at it though, Jason, they're 2.5 games back of the Nuggets for the 2 seed. You know, like that. The Nuggets have been retooled, and they started hot. The same with the Lakers. San Antonio's probably the surprise team, and we all knew Houston was going to be good. But the consistency, I do agree with you, because I said the same thing. I go, well, of the 12 games they've had against bad teams, whatever it is, I can think of like a half dozen at least over the last 2 years that they've lost for no reason. Now, they did try their damnedest in New Orleans, and I think that's when you and I were texting where the players were having the time of their lives in the fourth quarter when they finally decided to play, and Chris Finch looked like he wanted to get on one of those boats that they have down there and just sail off into the Gulf of Mexico from the Mississippi River. So I guess, is this a group that, because I think we've had the same group now for a while, and I don't think they're ever going to be the Oklahoma City model of consistency. Like, I just don't think this group has it in them. What do you think?
Well, that's what's interesting, and that's where I think you look at the roster of, yes, I know they only won 56 that year, but 2 years ago, I think they were pretty close to that. I know they lost down to some teams, but, man, they brought that defensive effort at least 90% of the time. And it was pretty incredible to watch, and I think that was maybe the most fun people have ever had watching this team. But since then, you've just lost some guys who maybe contributed to that consistency, even in smaller roles. Your Kyle Anderson, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, even Cat was like a pretty consistent effort guy, even if he didn't like some of maybe the emotional plays and whatnot, but like just like trying to bring it on a night-to-night basis and playing his hardest, that was there too. So it's trying to recapture that. And I think you look at it and go, well, why can't you recapture that with anybody? But it's just, I don't know if it's professionalism. I don't know if it's just general approach. And then even like, hey, Mike Conley's older from that, so you're not have the same version of Mike Conley, which was a really important piece of that. Rudy Gobert's a little bit older. He's not the defensive player of the year that he was 2 years ago. So you feel like the depletion of maybe the guys who were the most consistent, either they're gone or they're not exactly what they were. So that's what's hard to get back to. And then just with like the opening of the schedule, I hear you on that. Hey, here's where they are in the standings. I think I wrote at the season's outset, hey, looking at their schedule, I think this can be a team that goes 14-3 or 15-2. And so they have fallen short of that. So even of my own expectation of here's the teams they're playing, here's how I think they could start, they have just like versus what I thought they have underachieved. And you can look and say, hey, still pretty good, and that's true. But that still is kind of coming in under the mark, in my opinion.
All right, let's talk about the potential moves, because you alluded to it. I joked about it, but there's a lot of smoke and there's a lot of steam. They seem to be definitely looking the point guard direction. Dante is obviously the starter now. We know what Conley's role is kind of now, even though he's missed the last few games. Going to miss tonight, I think, as well against Memphis. And now we're in the Bones Highland era of Timberwolves basketball after 24, 25 games. Finchie makes that move. So do you think that this is going to be a deadline thing, or do you think if they find something that they like and are comfortable with, they will shake it up here in the next 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tim Connolly's never really shown an apprehension for making a move or wanting to wait it out or wanting to see how it looks. I think they have a pretty good idea of what they have right now. And so whatever they think is the fix to that, if the price comes in on somebody who they think will solve the issues sooner than later, then they would probably pull the trigger on that. Because, if you think that's going to help you win now, then you don't want to wait too long in this West. Because if you do wait too long and you are right, but you waited too long, now you're looking at maybe like the 6 or the 5. And obviously last year they showed you can still go from that to the West Finals, but usually one or two things has to go your way. So I definitely think that it's one of those things where, hey, if they think a scoring point guard who can space the floor, push pace, all this stuff, and maybe relieve tension from Ant on the ball handling front, playmaking front, if they think that is the ultimate fix and they find that guy who they think can kind of solve those answers, I don't think they would just intentionally wait. But obviously results between now and whenever that presents itself will matter too. If Bones Highland plays great and steps in and they're like, oh, I don't know how much of an improvement player X would be over Bones, then maybe that's something that would cause you to push the pause button for a bit. But as of right now, I think if something presented itself, Tim Connolly wouldn't hesitate.
Who are the names you're vetting? Because I know you're vetting. Who are the guard names you're paying attention to?
Yeah, well, frankly, just from my own perspective, I don't think there's a lot of fixes. I really don't. Whenever I look at, like, point guard, so much of this is scoring. Like, you talk about, like, a Kobe White, and it's like, yeah, there's people around the world are like, oh, yeah, Kobe, like a Kobe White. But there are so many guys like that where I'm like, this team, I think, needs to get better defensively. So I don't know how many fixes are out there. Kobe would make you worse defensively. He would add some shooting and playmaking, but also, the ball, in my mind, is still always going to be more so in Ant's hands than anybody else's. So I'm kind of in the boat of, like, you sink or swim with Ant making these progressions or not.
Yep.
So that, like, I definitely think they are going to make pushes on that front, but there aren't a lot of guys available, and everybody who is, whether it be guys who maybe like a Kobe White who could be on the market now, like you could talk about guys like LaMelo Ball, where it's like, oh, maybe Charlotte does go in that direction. Guys even that you could get maybe at discounts versus what you'd think you could get from them in the past. So often, I think, is that somebody who's actually going to address the Wolves' biggest needs, or are you trying to patch one hole and creating another leak? And that's something I think they're going to have to wrestle with.
This is Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press. If you listen to the Cake Show edition of Bumper to Bumper, it's a voice very familiar to you. We are talking Timberwolves. Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com. About 20 minutes from now, Pat Kessler will make his weekly appearance right around 5:15. We've talked a lot about Jaden McDaniels over the years. Have you seen enough in this stretch to be convinced that this is the new floor, this is the new Jaden McDaniels? And I'm talking about the offense where I never think he's missing now when he takes a shot.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially if they can play the way that is most conducive to his success. And I think that is when you're pushing out in transition, when you're getting good ball movement, when Jaden's confident that the ball is going to see his hands and he's going to touch it more frequently. I think he plays some really good basketball. It's when it never gets to him, and now all of a sudden that one shot doesn't go, and you can see his head hang. I was like, it might be the last time I touch it for the next 2 minutes. That's when I think you see Jaden maybe get more frustrated or in his head more, because even himself, teammates especially, have said, like, it's a confidence thing for Jaden. And I think when the ball is frequently getting to him, very confident in what he can do and his abilities. And the thing I like about Jaden is, like, yes, he's scoring a lot. Yes, he's getting to his spots. He's capitalizing. But when I watch the games or when I watch back the games, it's like Jaden's the best cutter. Jaden's the best relocator on the perimeter. Like, he just does so many. They've lost so many, like, higher IQ guys on this team. And my thought's always been, where's it going to come back to? Like, who's going to kind of regenerate that ability, especially as Mike kind of ages out? I think Jaden is a pretty big one of, yes, he might make those, like, that emotional play, that emotional foul that leaves you scratching your head when he's frustrated or whatever. But just on a play-to-play basis, I think I see some of the more high IQ stuff coming from Jaden. So when you mix that on top of his ability to get his shot off over anybody and get to his spots pretty efficiently, I think he does have a higher offensive ceiling than maybe even I thought in the past, just because I was like, okay, he can do A, B, and C, but I don't think he's ever going to get, a deep bag, quote unquote, or whatever. But I don't even know if he needs it. The efficient way that he plays, and part of his efficiency is because I think he's a pretty smart basketball player.
I listened to your most recent appearance on the Dane Moore podcast. I think it dropped yesterday, and it was interesting to hear you guys talking about the way that the Wolves have been playing in Ant's absence here, especially the last couple of games, and how I think you just kind of alluded to it. That plays into Jaden's strengths. That plays into so many other players' strengths, and how the ball kind of gets up the floor. It's in transition, and it's being shared. And it's an interesting thing that they've got to figure out when Anthony Edwards comes back, is what it seemed like you were hinting at, that they're playing a really fun style of basketball right now. And when Ant comes back, he's going to get the ball a lot, which I think we all agree with. Is that something they still have to iron out, like the best way for this team to play, with also maybe one of the best 6 or 7 players in the NBA who needs the ball a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I just think we've seen the best versions of Jaden and Naz come out when they're playing this brand of basketball, which isn't executed as frequently when Ant's out there, and when Ant and Julius are out there, which I think Ant and Julius almost make each other more of isolation players, because they do, it just does get a little bit more into, like, you go, I go, and, like, confusion of, okay, I got the pass from you, now I guess it's my turn to drive here. It doesn't feel as free flowing, and they don't play with as much pace, and those two don't have as much movement off the ball, even when there are actions in the other direction. So nothing works as well within this brand. But you can just tell that, like, the Jadens and Nazes of the world want to play, that get up and down, share the ball basketball. And that is, I think, one of the things where they play their best. So I think the challenge for Ant is, hey, what's like the main thing that superstars in the NBA have to do? you could say it's score. I think it's make everybody else around you better. And I think if Ant wants to make everybody else around him better and make their lives easier when he's on the court, which is how it should be in the game,
sure,
that's going to have to be being conducive to, okay, how do I make sure we're playing at the pace they like? How do I make sure that, yes, while there are certainly times where I'm going to have to save us, that's just part of being an NBA superstar, how do I make it on a night-to-night basis that we're playing a brand that we're maximizing everybody else around me and I'm raising their floors, because that is your ultimate job, I think, as the face of a franchise.
One of the things I've noticed, you often tweet out the Wolves net ratings after a certain number of games, and Dante DiVincenzo continues to be on top there. And I feel like you have to explain your work or explain yourself about Dante, where it's, no, he really is. You guys might not think it, and maybe you have some baggage from how he played last year, but am I reading those tea leaves right? Because he obviously has played very well. He hit the most important shot against Golden State the other night. I don't know if it was the smartest shot in the world, the greatest shot in the world. It was a quick in the shot clock, but he was wide open. Because if it doesn't go in, I feel like Steph Curry's hitting a 50-footer the other way, and we're talking about another meltdown. But do you feel the need to have to, show your work, even though the work's been done, that Dante has been pretty damn good for this team this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I felt that a little bit, but honestly, that's one where even the numbers maybe change the way I feel about it sometimes, because
sure,
it is very easy when Dante is tasked with things that maybe aren't the most natural to him, like, hey, bring the ball up, and yeah, it's a pressured defense, and yeah, we're not going to do that much to help you, and this might not be setting you up for success here, and then he turns the ball over, and those things are loud, right? And those are things that leave a bad taste in your mouth of how good is this guy or whatever. Get somebody else in who can better handle these responsibilities that really shouldn't be on the forefront of his role. But you do see especially again, where he kind of can drive pace for them. He makes some of these risks on defense that I think sometimes can hurt them, but can also lead to the plays that spark things that I just think kind of bring out some of the best of the Wolves when they're getting up and down and turning defense into offense. And he kind of can, when things are rolling, he can be a big part of that. I think we saw it even against the Kings. Nas hits a 3 to get it back up to 9, and Dante is one who pressures, steal, lay up the other way to kind of put the game away. He makes a lot more of those plays than we realize, and when they're playing the way they like to play, he's benefiting from it too. So I think it's not really a mistake that his net rating is the highest, because when they're rolling, he's helping generate it, and he's one benefiting from it, from kind of their best basketball. So I definitely had those times where I'm I think Dante's struggling tonight, and maybe there are better options, and blah, blah, blah. But, the numbers do kind of confirm that, no, this guy's really helpful to this team. And so that's why when you're get rid of this guy so you can upgrade here, I think it is the numbers provide a little bit of the context of, is that really an upgrade? Or are you just trying to kind of reimagine what you think fits best for this team, even if the data suggests otherwise?
Last one on the Wolves before we talk about a couple league-wide things with Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press. Obviously, Rob Dillingham is taking his seat back on the bench, more or less. He'll obviously get some minutes, and he'll get some run in different games. I'm curious. I asked this to Dan the other day because I'm not as down on Dillingham as everybody is, and I know when you trade up like they did, and you take a big swing like you did, it's going to be noticed, right? It's for the same reason J.J. McCarthy scrutinized, and even Dallas Turner. But I'm curious, take us back to draft night then, or his rookie season. Is it fair to say he has been a disappointment, or is it maybe this wasn't the right spot for him given what they need? Or is he on the same timeline he was always supposed to be on, being a one-and-done player in college, and clearly a guy who's going to need some seasoning? I guess what I'm asking you is kind of evaluate the whole Dillingham saga.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that was when they made that trade on draft night, Tim Connolly said it, Chris Finch said it shortly thereafter, we're committed to playing him. And I really do think that they thought they watched the Western Conference Finals against Dallas, so I think Ant was a little wore down, and yes, the Wolves are really good defensively, but there's only so much you can do against Luka Doncic, and so they felt at the end of the day, we need another creator, we need a little bit more offensive firepower if we're going to take the next step to that NBA Finals. And I think throughout the process of watching the draft and looking at guys, they thought Rob Dillingham could be one of those creators who could help them right now. I mean, I think they knew they were losing Kyle Anderson, and they thought, okay, we'll punch this guy in kind of as that backup point guard who can give us that real scoring punch. And then I think throughout summer league, and whatnot in the off season, and I don't know how ready he is. I think that played some role, even in just that cat trade that obviously brought back Dante as well.
Sure.
So I just don't think from day one when they made the move to when they saw the instant results, he was quite as ready as they thought. And now I think we're seeing here this year, you kind of see why. Like, it's just a little inconsistent. There are certainly moments, there are runs, there are little stretches of play, like maybe a first half stint where you're like, okay, that was pretty good from Rob, and then the second half isn't. Or and I don't know if it's confidence or whatever, and I don't know if he's just maybe not just quite ready. But I don't think, as far as like contributing to a championship team, on a team that still would like to pride itself more on the defensive end, wants to play a certain way offensively, it's one of those things where I bet if he was in Washington and getting an extended run and playing with a lot of confidence, you would look at him and say,
right,
okay, yeah, I could see that guy being something. But when you look at a team that is constantly trying to contend at the highest level, and win games and plan for the postseason, you kind of wonder, how would he fit into all of this when you get to where you want to go? So it's a tough thing there. We did see like Reed Shepherd last year also set the bench for Houston, so like it can happen there too. But Shepherd has kind of worked his way into a role, and he's done it playing pretty consistently well. We haven't seen those consistent successes from Dillingham yet. I think if we did, he would see more of like a Shepherd-like role right now, but that just hasn't happened.
I feel like guys like playing with him. I feel like guys like him, just watching the body language when he's out there. And a lot of it is I think he'll get him the ball, which is what everybody wants. So I'm not giving up on him. I know everybody else is, because I do think, and obviously he's small. There's things that you're going to have to fight against your whole time, but you're also asking him to be, probably more of a distributor than he's ever been in the past in a different way than what I'm talking about. I don't know. I'm not giving up on him, I guess. I still see the upside and I still see the talent.
And there's plenty of time. And one thing that I do think is kind of a fallacy is that you can't develop if you're not playing. And I think we see plenty of guys where
sure.
It's like, oh, yeah. Like Bones Highland does not play basketball. Like he fell out of favor after his rookie year in Denver, went to the Clippers, played a little bit, and then got buried on their bench, then just basically gets let go and signed here. And so basically didn't play NBA minutes. And he comes back and he's played really well and probably a little better than he was prior to not all that time not playing. Like you can develop just within a system, within reps and practice, within your own personal development, and just learning the game and maturing as a person. You can develop in that way. So I really don't think you have to play 20 minutes a night in the NBA, even as a young player, to take strides forward. I just think it can kind of come down to personal development, and everybody does that, at their own pace. And Rob's young enough where there's plenty of time to do that. I know like Timberwolves fans would like to help now because they could use it. But I think you're right. Even if Rob does go to the bench and doesn't see many minutes now, like I think his story even here can be far from over. And so he's a young guy, and there was a little bit of risk in trading up for that pick. But I still think it can turn out in Minnesota's favor.
Lastly, does any of this matter? I look at Oklahoma City, and they're obviously Oklahoma City. But now, Jace, I'm looking at Wemby saying, oh, you thought this was going to take a minute? Like, no, we're good. We're ready. And by the way, the 2028 Olympics, France is winning in Los Angeles, so good luck. This is not going to get any easier the next handful of years. I just look at those two teams in particular, not to mention Denver, and there's still a guy named Luka in Los Angeles, but it's those two teams. We know about OKC, but the Wemby thing, we all knew he was going to be good. That wasn't breaking any news. I remember having our buddy Sam Gordon on from the Vegas Summer League when his team came over to play because there was Wemby hype, 2 Julys ago. Pretty scary when you see what San Antonio's doing right now. And Wemby wants all the smoke. You can tell. He wants all of it, which I love.
Yeah, I mean, I would be surprised if they're like winning the title this year, but if they made it to the West Finals, would that surprise me? No. And the thing about their roster is it's so guard heavy, but those are really good guards. And like Dylan Harper's probably better than Castle and Fox, and he's a young player.
Right.
His ceiling is certainly higher than those guys, and you think he will be Wemby's true long-term running mate. And so they'll have flexibility if they want to move from that kind of, stockpile of guards they have and get better on the wing or whatever. They'll have the ability to do all of those things. I mean, picks to do it. Hey, they got that first from the Wolves. So that's another future asset for them to work with. So they definitely, like, it's Oklahoma City, it's San Antonio, that's in the future. But it is one of those things where it's like, oh, why does it matter? Like, there are periods all the time like this, right? Like there was the same thought with the Warriors at the end of that decade. And
sure. And
maybe that's true. Maybe you can't win, but the Raptors won the year when you would have pegged the Warriors for another one because injuries happen and things turn. But you can't just kind of constantly keep waiting, in my mind. Like, hey, you have to keep trying for it. And yeah, it's just going to get harder and harder. And maybe the time to do it was 2 years ago. That probably was. If you're going to be honest, the best chance to go get it.
Right.
And they didn't do it, but that doesn't mean, you got to keep pushing. And when the next opportunity presents itself, you better cash it.
Well, and Ant's going to have a say in it, and you just look at his progression and how he's played and what he's added. Of course, I say it tongue in cheek. But it's going to be, when we grew up in this era too, right? With Kevin Garnett, like when you had all those teams in the Western Conference, that's just kind of how it is. And you got to do some special stuff to break through. Thank you, man. I always appreciate it. Have a great holiday. We will see you at Target Center soon.
Looking forward to it, Gaardsy. Thanks, man.
That is our guy, Jace Frederick, covers the Wolves, and like everything else for the Pioneer Press, like all the Pioneer Press guys, they cover everything. That's what I love about all of them. Dane, Andy, Jace, the whole bit. We appreciate his time tonight. I read his stuff from Wolves Memphis, a game you can hear right here on the Fan a little bit later this evening. Pat Kessler will join in the 5 o'clock hour. He's the one Wednesday regular. I expect my buddy Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com to join. We'll talk college football with him, not just Gophers, but Michigan stuff. And a lot of college stuff as well with Burnsy. We expect him in studio when we come back.
Man. The holiday season is a perfect time to give and receive. And this December, you can partner with builders and remodelers to get great savings on any project, plus up to $500 in holiday groceries. And builders and remodelers will make a matching donation to Second Harvest Heartland. Visit buildersandremodelers.com to help give this holiday season.
Cake Show edition of Bumper to Bumper rolls along on the Fan. Gaardsy in for Barreiro today. Dan will be back tomorrow. Appreciate my buddy from Gopher Illustrated, Ryan Burns, coming in studio to chat with me for a little while. What's up, Burnsy?
It's weird to turn on this program and actually hear hockey talk.
Well, what do you mean? The hockey ambassador, Dan Barreiro, as anointed by Craig Leopold 10 years ago. I can speak for Dan. He would have led the show off today with hockey talk. He absolutely would have.
Well, now that you actually go over to St. Paul and you're able to behold that hockey team, look at you. You're an elite hockey mind. Many people say that about you.
I grew up in Edina, so it's in.
Did you? This is the first I've heard of it.
Even though I can't skate, it's in my blood. Mm-hmm. Even though I can't skate at all, literally.
Oh, okay, Mason West.
We should do, yeah, exactly. We should do a bit where I go skating at Braemar. It would be terrible. I'd probably hurt myself. And I'm a hockey dad now, so I feel like I'm in the community. And it was, I felt bad for my son, though, when a couple of weeks ago we had a little mite tournament, and the dads on the other team were Zach Parisi, Ryan Suter, Devin Dubnik, Alex Goligoski, Keith Ballard, and like 4 other guys that played Division I hockey. And then my son's out there with a father who can't skate. I'm just super proud of him that he's on the same ice as those guys. Doing it. You're doing it, buddy. You're doing it.
Other than that,
Rosie bell just broke over here.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't ring it anymore.
But Larry, you look over and you go, okay, all right, that team. Okay, all right, good luck, guys. Go get them.
Yeah. Other than that, how was the game, Mrs. Lincoln?
It was a good game.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They
competed 14-1.
No, it was not. I mean, I'm not going to go to Sports Engine and pull up the score, but it was a nice game between the two teams. It was great. It was fun, but that's what he's up against. Believe it or not, I want to talk Twins with you to start out.
Oh boy,
because you are, other than Grimm, the only guy I know that just like still rides or dies with baseball all the time. And I'm curious if you are moved at all by the breaking news from really yesterday. The news was broken, and then today the Twins made it official that we know who the new minority partners are. And one of them, speaking of hockey, is Craig Leopold. Wild Owners jumping in to invest some of his money, I guess. And we'll see what that means. Maybe they partner on some kind of regional TV deal that can make everybody rich and all of those things. And we certainly know Craig Leopold's not afraid to spend money or take big swings. So I hope his influence, makes it to the corner office. But we've got a new Pohlad in charge. I didn't even know there was a Tom Pohlad. We all know about Joe Pohlad, but apparently Joe is taking a back seat, and it's Tom Pohlad. As a Twins rube, are you inspired? Are you moved?
Well, I even saw that Aaron Gleeman asked the new Pohlad brother here, what's the direction of the franchise? Because they were talking today with the media.
Yes.
And it doesn't sound awfully inspiring, but I would have paid to have been in the room, a fly on the wall, for when the Pohlad family looked at Joe and said, we're going to make someone else the polarizing figure in this market. Because as someone who watches 140-plus Twins games, is maybe the only 33-year-old in the market that cares about baseball the way that I do at 33.
Yeah.
I just want to see them actually attempt to field a competitive team. And I know you want to have me go through the Josh Bell splits and how they've actually got a first baseman that's not going to be Cody Clemens anymore, which awe-inspiring for that. Or even now that they're hypothetically going to hold on to Joe Ryan, Byron Buxton, and these other guys. I just want to see them have a payroll that's anything resembling 100. I think even for this market and for Twins fans, can we see it be anywhere near 140 million? And that's not even good, by the way. That's bottom third of Major League Baseball. But it is at least interesting to see the local flavor of the new ownership group, and the hope that being when the Walker Jenkins and the Emmanuel Rodriguez's and these younger guys actually can give a fan base hope that you'll actually throw money into it and not have the Blue Jays fiasco of 2023 all over again, which I did hear the new poll ad say they screwed that up, which, look, they actually took accountability for something in this market. What a novel concept. But yeah, it's, God, you give me all.
I know. I knew it would. Well, that's part of the reason why I wanted you in too. Here's Gleeman. You mentioned it. His tweet. I asked Tom Pohlad about his repeated use of the word relentless in regard to winning and how he can square that with dramatically decreased payrolls over the past several years and a current payroll around $100 million. Here's the response. I think the one that you're talking about.
Yep.
I don't think that as the landscape, what I see right now, that we should put a significant investment into the team of $50 or $60 million. And then Gleeman writes, on top of their current $100 million payroll. But I don't think we're far off from that. I think the hard work in front of us is getting people and fans to buy into, to believe we are committed to a championship caliber investment and team. I would tell you that Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not just the players on the field that will make us champions. It's the organization in its entirety.
I feel like I'm listening to a bunch of corporate jargon thereafter. We're not going to throw 50 or 60 million at our $100 million payroll.
Now, what do you think of this, though? He calls himself, because Gleeman then says, I asked Tom Pohlad if he's worried the Twins are taking a half measure by keeping star players without supporting them by increasing the payroll to add impact talent to the roster. Pohlad admitted it's a worry and called himself a go big or go home guy. Here's the quote. I worry about it. Half measures are not good. And you'll probably get to know me over time. I'm not a half measure guy. I'm a go big or go home guy. But again, to your point, how do we thread the needle here and do what's in the best interest of the fan base? I think he's already a better talker than Joe.
I
know that's a low bar. It's like a Ziggy and Mark Wilf situation, but your mind doesn't seem as open. Have you just been beaten down?
Here's what I would say. In this market, we got Brett's guy Guerin, who just took a big swing. Your guy Connolly, who all he does is take big swings.
Yep.
And I learned at a young age from Oakdale, Minnesota here, that I hear what you say and I trust what you do. So I hear these words, but I want to see them actually go out and spend $10 million on a free agent, or, I don't know, extend Joe Ryan past what he's owed here for the next couple of years. Actually do something that would inspire confidence in a fan base that you finally win a playoff series for the first time in 2023. And then what do? You right-size the payroll, and then you trade Correa for arguably the worst minor league player you've ever heard of in your entire life.
Yeah, not a good name.
Just as a slap in the face. So it's encouraging words, but let's see the actions here in the next 12, 18, 24 months.
Well, and I was texting with somebody yesterday, and I started the show with it, that it's good that they have this money, right? This new infusion of cash.
Yep.
And it's essentially going to wipe out the $500 million debt. And I believe them that they have that kind of debt, that they've lost that kind of money from COVID and then just bad baseball. I believe them that they have that. However, the way it was framed yesterday in kind of the stories, and Pohlad did say today, Tom now, and again, I'm going to have to get used to Tom Pohlad after Joe forever.
Yep.
That they're in it for the long haul, because the skeptic in me says you're going to run this thing lean until the new CBA is figured out and the new TV deal's figured out. We're talking like 2027, 2028, 2029 for all that. And you're going to run a lean and not have a bunch of debt and then have a very clean asset to go sell to somebody else in that time. It is going to, the way you phrase it is perfect. They need a radical shift in action.
Yes.
To get people to buy into them at that point.
100%. And that's where, when you look at the roster construction, you have a bunch of young pitching. Outside of Pablo Lopez, you've got guys under control for quite a long time yet, Like, and if you need this farm system we continue to hear about that they continue to tout that's allegedly top 5 in baseball with guys, like I said, Walker Jenkins, Emmanuel Rodriguez, can Zebby Matthews take the next step? And by then, hopefully, these guys are taking those steps. And then if you do have a clean books going forward there and the CBA is figured out and the TV situation is figured out, then go add pieces around them. But even hearing, again, the quote he gave Gleeman about, well, I hope people realize $100 million payroll right now is bottom 5 in baseball. That is horrendous.
And like 3 of them are teams, the 3 teams below them are either playing in minor league stadiums or have no interest in doing anything.
Exactly.
We're talking like 30, 40, 50, $60 million payrolls.
Which is why, what sense does it make to have Pablo Lopez on the roster for $20 million, or even why Buxton had been hypothetically saying, well, if you're just going to tear this whole thing down, I know I got the no trade clause, but I don't want to be a part of that if we're really going to strip this thing down to the studs. So I'm optimistic that the new Pohlad brother will, in this new ownership group, can give direction and actual hope to a Twins fan base that, again, you have the moment that you've been waiting for a long time in 2023 where you finally beat the Blue Jays and you win a playoff series.
It was electric.
It was. And then what'd you decide to do? You did nothing. Yeah, you're getting me. I can't believe you did this to me.
Why don't you write for Twins Daily on top of your Gopher Illustrated? I mean, you and Bonus are tight. Bonus listens to the Pair and a Spare podcast. We talk about it. So does Gleeman. They always text and talk to us about it all the time. Why aren't you writing something for Twins Daily during the summer? You should be.
Well, I did run into Bonus out at the Grey Duck Deck, and we shared a beverage or two. But again, it is
weird.
Yeah, of all places.
You found him there. Wow.
Again, it's optimistically, it has the Twins person in me optimistic about them. But even hearing those quotes today, like, why are we getting, like, I remember last April, the Twins were playing the White Sox, and I looked at my wife and I said, I can sit behind, I literally sat on top of the White Sox dugout, first row for $20 off StubHub at like a 3 p.m. purchase.
Well, that's on you.
Well, it was great.
That's on you for having interest in that.
But it's just like, I want people to care about the Twins again, but I get why no one does. I get it. Trust me, I do.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. If you want to talk to Twins Daily's Ryan Burns, hit the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line 64686. We will talk some Gopher football with him. We'll talk some college football with him. And we'll talk some Michigan with him, because we talked a lot about that on Pair and a Spare this week, and that story obviously has taken a lot of different turns. Burnsy hanging out for the next couple of segments. More with him when we come.